Okay, all right, here we go.
Have your thoughts led you into the quicksand of pessimism? Has the tide of emotion pulled you beneath the waves of reason? Perhaps you hang on to the cliffs of hope by a fingernail. All is lost, friends. We invite you to anguish with us in the pit of despair.
Despair.
Oh man, I feel like my I need to restart my computer. It's glitching out a little bit, so we might have some audio drops today, like that time.
I didn't hear anything yet.
You didn't hear any pops or anything like that?
Nothing.
All right. Well, hopefully not. So, the pit of despair that I've been in, part of it is just reading Twitter and the takes that people have on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But so yesterday was the anniversary of the Waco debacle.
The wackos in Waco.
Exactly. So for anybody who doesn't know or doesn't remember, this was the early 90s, and there was a Christian group called the Branch Davidians. And I've actually been reading a lot about the Branch Davidians. They are an offshoot of Seventh-day Adventists.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the branch is a reference to Isaiah 11:1, which talks about how David is the branch from Jesse.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know if that means anything to you or to any of the listeners. I think it's interesting. So that's what the Branch Davidians are. They're kind of like an apocalyptic, legalistic Christian group. They're still in existence, but so they had a compound in Waco, Texas, which is this sort of small city or medium-sized city in between Dallas and Austin, and
that's where Chip and Joanna from Magnolia Farms are also located. For anyone that's into that sort of thing, their house like remodel or flipper people.
Who?
Look up Chip and Joanna, Magnolia Farms. They have
are we sponsoring them now?
No. I'm just saying they're there in Waco.
Okay, nice.
So if you want to get an overpriced plastic houseplant, you know where to go.
Yeah. So this compound, Mount Carmel was the name of it, run by this guy, David Koresh. And the ATF, the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, had a problem with him. And there was a raid on the compound. And the official story was that while the FBI and the ATF were raiding the compound, the Branch Davidians set fire to their own compound and essentially committed mass suicide.
And what was the first accusation? Was it like child endangerment, unlicensed firearms? Do you remember what?
I've been looking at the original accusation. So the ATF suspected the Branch Davidians of possessing illegal firearms.
Okay. So, but it's not specific whether that's I can't speak. It is not specific whether that is unregistered or unlawful for a civilian to own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do they have bazookas or like RPGs?
Well, so it wasn't clear what they did or didn't have. They were suspected of having illegal firearms. So they were a very heavily armed group, but as my understanding is they did not end up having anything illegal.
Okay.
Anyway, so the ATF suspected them of having illegal firearms. So the ATF ended up doing a raid, and a firefight ensued, and the ATF lost and had to retreat. 4 ATF agents were killed by the Davidians.
Oh my gosh.
But the ATF did open fire on the Davidians first.
So was this like a standoff?
Basically. Right. And then the ATF came back with the FBI and the National Guard.
Okay.
Who punched a hole in the side of the compound with tanks.
Yeah.
And then we're spraying highly flammable tear gas into the compound.
Oh.
And then it started on fire.
Yeah.
And then when people were trying to run out, they shot them. And so almost everybody, I think 70-something people died. And the people who survived went to prison.
So, I mean, I vaguely remember this happening when I was a kid. It's very vague.
Mm-hmm.
right? But from what it sounds like, the presentation is that these are violent anarchists.
Right. So the way that they were portrayed was, so they were suspected of having these illegal weapons,
Yeah.
and then they got into a shootout with the ATF, and then the story flipped that they were abusing children, maybe sexually abusing children, and like raping women, all sorts of things.
Because what I would want to say too is if it was for just illegal weapons, I would imagine that it would also be pretty logical to not have a shootout
Yep.
with them and say, oh, you guys are on privately owned land, right? So you should respect the private land part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then issue them a summons to appear in court instead of just raiding their facility.
Absolutely.
Like that seems more in line.
Yeah. So the sheriff of Waco knew David Koresh, and when the ATF showed up, the sheriff said, "Oh, we can get David Koresh to come in and talk. Like he'll come talk to us. We can just like I can go pick him
I'll
up.
just drive out.
I can I can arrest him. We can talk. We can do a warrant or a subpoena. Like it'll be fine." The ATF said, "No. We got to make this like a covert thing. We got to sneak up on them."
Whoa! Why? How is that at all better? Because
I don't know. And so then they went to the compound.
For anyone.
Yeah. And David Koresh came out and invited them in, and they shot him. And so he like retreated back into the compound, and then the Davidians started firing back.
Wow. So how do we know what really happened?
I don't know how we know what really happened. There's testimony from the Davidians who have been in prison.
Okay.
There's official news stories. There's the official documents from the FBI and the ATF.
Right.
And there's a documentary that was created by one of the news, the cameramen who was filming. I think it was for CNN or NBC at the time.
Okay.
Because there was this whole thing. It was like crazy where the news reporter is saying like they've set fire to themselves, and he just turns the camera and there's like a tank shooting explosives into their building.
So, wow. So it went from covert to a shootout to a military assault.
Yes. And like it was crazy. So the official story that Janet Reno and the Defense Department was saying was that while they were in the middle of the siege, children were being like sexually abused while that was happening.
Interesting.
Like as we speak, these children are being sexually assaulted.
So this is why there's a sense of urgency and use of extreme force. That
right.
was the justification.
And so where my pit of despair is I've been reading these arguments on Twitter about it, and I don't understand why. So even if we take the most mainstream version, that David Koresh was this crazy guy who was raping women and sexually abusing children and all sorts of things.
Okay.
Why does it make sense that then what we must do is kill them all?
Yeah, I would think you want to arrest them and have them tried. That seems to be
right. And kill the children. Like the children all died in the siege. So we didn't. So whether or not he was abusing them, we did not succeed in saving them.
Right. You didn't cause less harm to anyone at that point.
No. I don't understand that perspective at all. It makes no sense to me. Like, oh, they're being abused. We just might have to burn them to death.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty disappointing. It's pretty disappointing. I mean,
it's crazy.
If they wanted to help kill everyone faster, they should have just dropped a bomb on the whole facility. That'd have been more ethical,
right?
Than having people burned alive.
Well, so part of it was, it's crazy. So another crazy thing is Bill Clinton, who was president at the time, did not want this siege to happen. Janet Reno, who was Secretary of State, I think, was pushing for it. And she was saying that we're spending, because there was like a standoff for several days, that we're spending over $1 million a day and the FBI agents are getting impatient and we need to do something. And so then Bill Clinton was like, all right, well, I'll let you, if you know what you're doing, I'll let you figure it out. But I don't think we should do this.
It just sounds like a bad...
like, what kind of a fucked up leader is that? Like, what?
Yeah.
How
I
weak
don't
is
wanna
that?
deal
He
with
didn't
it.
want it. So like it's funny. Like it's like a Pontius Pilate thing. Like he watches it, he's like, it's not my
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
If you want to kill him.
Wow. Dude, what so there's a lot to wonder, right? Like how like obviously so if the sheriff knew these people,
Uh-huh.
right, or claims to have known them, like, oh, I can go talk to David, it's no big deal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we'll just say we have a warrant for you, you gotta come down to the station and talk to us, right? That would have been such a different situation
Yep.
on every level. And even if these folks are off their handles,
Mm-hmm.
right? It seems like that's much easier to contain,
Yep.
instead of creating a situation where if these people are already feeling the need to be prepared for doomsday events, and then the government is attacking you.
Yep.
It's almost like they're manifesting their fears to justify an action at some point.
Well, here's one quote from an ATF official. Apparently, the ATF was already in hot water because they'd messed up a whole bunch of other things. And so there's a quote where an ATF official says, "Everybody will see us as heroes if we can do this, and Congress won't fire our asses."
Wow, dude. Oh, it's not related, but it is because it's this idea of federal authority versus like local sovereignty, I guess you can almost say, or private property.
Yep.
Is it Bundy Ranch?
Okay.
Remember this? Was it like Ohio? No, Montana, Idaho.
Oh,
There's this guy.
was it in Washington State or Oregon?
Washington, maybe.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't
But it was
remember
these
it that well.
ranchers that claimed that they had
Yep.
grazing rights on certain land, and they built blockades, and they had militiamen show up and hold these positions against federal officials.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were strapped, right?
Yep.
It sounds right. I mean, none of those guns would be legal in California, I'm sure. Right? They were all like the big rifles that everyone's scared of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, man. Because in that situation, no one got shot.
Yep.
So what made this one different that they felt that it was justifiable? Like where it was like, so the sheriff, have you read anything like what about the locals in Waco?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far into it yet.
I see.
I don't know.
It's not a large town, but it's not tiny. It's several 100,000 people now.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a little smaller back then, but even back then it wasn't like there was nobody there.
It's not a tiny town. It's a small city, I'd say.
Yeah. I'm saying even back then, I'm sure it's grown much more compared to what it used to be. But even at that point, I'm sure it was like, for what, between 50 and 200,000 people at least?
Something. Yeah.
Because like right now, I think it's at like
400,000?
Isn't it?
No. Really?
Yeah. Waco's big.
Is
you got
it?
a university there? Let me see. I'm going to check.
All right. Well,
Waco population.
What do we
Let's
got?
see what it says. Let's see what it says. Oh, dang it. I'm way off.
Like 80? 90?
No, 140.
What? 40. Okay.
140.
140.
Wait, okay. But what year was that? 1990 what?
92? 93? There's probably like 100,000, maybe 120.
Why can't I see what the population was before?
I don't know. It's okay.
Lamos.
It's all right.
It doesn't matter that much.
So we're looking at about a city of 100,000. So a small city.
Yeah. You still don't know everybody, right? It's hard to know everybody.
100? No, you don't know 100,000 people.
No.
But you definitely run into people.
You know a lot of folks.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy in Austin. I run into so many more people, and it's almost 1 million.
Yeah.
It just shows what LA is.
Well, but it's also a smaller
insane.
city than the greater Los Angeles area.
That's what I'm saying. But
like
so
Madison's smaller, right? You probably ran into more of the same people.
Yeah, you run into people all the time in Madison. But it's crazy because Austin is bigger than Long Beach. This is why I say that Long Beach is at least half LA. Because even in Long Beach, I don't run into anybody. And I feel like it's because it is part of this conglomerate.
Yeah.
If Long Beach was just Long Beach, you'd run into people all the time because it's only 450. Yeah.
So why are you
Anyway,
in
I
despair,
digress.
Man?
I digress.
Why are
But
you in
like,
despair? You already
I'm in
like,
despair. I'm in despair because I don't understand how anybody. I don't understand the perspective of he was a bad guy, therefore anything we do against him is justified. And it isn't just in this Waco thing. The problem is this happens all the time. This is like the Iraq War. This is Libya. This is Ukraine. It's the whole thing. It's just because somebody is a bad guy. So let's say Putin is a terrible person. That doesn't mean that anything you do makes sense. If I say Putin's a terrible person, so I murder my neighbor, that doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, we've talked about this idea before. It was we had an episode where that was the title, right? Justification is moral corruption.
Yes. I love it. It's one of my favorite quotes of yours.
So I think it's
we should do a say what on just that quote of yours.
on just that quote. When did Brother Nate say this?
I should do that. Oh man, I should do a game show say what of your quotes and make you tell me when you said them.
But but to be fair, you got to do that, and then you got to mix in for the other people. I want Marcus Aurelius and Mussolini.
That's what I could do. I could quiz you. Who said it? You, Mussolini, or Marcus Aurelius? What if you got it wrong? What have you? I should have done that for today. That'd be good. Next week.
Another time. Another time. Save it for the anniversary episode or something. That'd be really funny. Then.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny.
You don't even know your own quotes.
I'm like, Mussolini. No, that was you, Nate. Oh, really?
Really? Uh-oh. You can get in trouble.
I'm on the bad list now.
What if every Mussolini quote you're like, oh, that sounds like something I'd say? That sounds like me.
This guy's charming. Yeah, it's pretty sad. So oh man, my sinus is still sorry. I hope you enjoy that sniffle. It's not even a sniffle. You know what it is? Have you ever had what is it called? Like the mucus, right?
Okay, kind of like
stuff that like
sort of hurts a little bit.
So a booger is like hard mucus. And this is quasi booger, quasi like soft mucus, and it's like stuck up here where it's not really attainable.
You just gotta blow it out hard.
But it's a little dry, so it doesn't want to give up easy. Maybe I need a saline wash.
Yeah, or a COVID test.
I mean, that could do it too. I mean, that's just a long Q-tip. Yeah. It makes me itchy on the inside just thinking about it.
Yeah, me too. It gives me a headache right there.
So what are people saying? It's all fine. It's justified.
No, it's not. They're not even saying that. It's the obfuscation. So if you make the claim that the ATF and the FBI went in and murdered 70 people, the response is, well, David Koresh was like a madman who was raping and killing and blah blah blah.
I mean, but that doesn't take away the victimhood from the other individuals necessarily.
Right. Or they'll say that he was a polygamist. He had multiple wives, and he was sexually
what is
abusing
guilt by
children.
association? Like, to what degree do you carry that?
Well, I don't even think they're saying that those kids were guilty. They're just saying that we what I'm understanding is that we had to kill those kids because what David Koresh was doing was so bad. I don't think that people would stand by that. I think it would be more the argument of that they were collateral, that there was no way around the situation had escalated to such a point that there was no escape. Right. Or they'll say that David Koresh started shooting first, and what do you expect the ATF to do? Yeah, but even in that, like, I don't know, it's like they didn't have to be there. You know how many I'm sure in the time that you lived in Southern California, you probably watched at least one or two police chases on the freeways. Yeah. Right? They stopped doing it as much, but they would chase them for hours, like half a day. And then like I it's not like I remember these people's names or where they were, or what they did. Right. But I remember one time, like, this guy got out of the car, got a different car, and took off again. It's like, and they're all the commentators like, well, I hope that car didn't just fill up at the gas station, because otherwise we're going to be here for another 4 hours. Right? I mean, there's something like so weirdly. It'd be something that started in the morning and be like, well, everyone has to consider too, we are coming up on 2:45. The afternoon traffic is going to start building up. And what dynamic will that have on this pursuit? Right? I don't know. I'm saying some of those folks enjoy their overtime. So the idea of like, we're spending this much money, how can we do this? It's an odd concept to me.
It's like, well, aren't those people paid?
Mhm.
I don't think of FBI guys as like, oh, I'm on the clock. They're salaried. It's like,
Right.
this is your job. You do your job,
Yeah.
right? They're not hourly employees. Same thing with ATF. So if they get sent out to do an operation like this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, guys, no, you don't understand. The wife is making a turkey. I got to be home. If I'm home, past 6:30, I'm in the doghouse. We have turkey, and she did the roasted Brussels sprouts. I got to be home, guys. It doesn't work that way, So I don't understand like why they all of a sudden it's like budgetary concerns,
I don't know. I mean, like,
we should be worried about that all the time, right?
yeah, I feel like it's not that the FBI should be worried about it. So
they should do their job effectively.
Right. The people like Janet Reno should be worried about it. And I guess she was worried about spending $1 million of taxpayer money a day when we could just have these guys dead tomorrow.
But that's what I'm saying. They're not going to spend the money. How are they going to save the money? Are they going to fire the FBI guys? They're on call. That's what it is. They're on call. It's like, guys, I'm only going to call you if I need you. Take a few days off.
Yep.
I don't know if it works that way. Whatever. Yeah, it's pretty dark stuff, man. So was today the anniversary?
Yesterday.
No way. 420.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting.
Yep.
Well, do you feel a little better about it now that you talked about it?
No.
Oh, so you're still in the pit?
Yeah. All right. Well, we got our new sponsor. Should we hear from them? Should we hear from our
have
sponsor?
A sponsor.
All right. Let's tag it.
The spiel?
There's the pit. Here's the pit.
Okay.
Have your thoughts led you into the quicksand of pessimism? Has the tide of emotion pulled you beneath the waves of reason? Perhaps you hang onto the cliffs of hope by a fingernail. All is lost, friends. We invite you to anguish with us in the pit of despair.
It's a pretty sad story.